Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night. Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
Join your host, Gary Anderson, as we venture into the unknown, diving deep into the mysteries of the cosmos, searching for the truth behind alien encounters, Bigfoot sightings, and all things paranormal. Prepare yourself for a journey beyond the ordinary, into the world where dreams become reality and the night holds secrets waiting to be discovered.
You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
Bouncing around the planet like a big rubber ball, covering all the time zones. This is Gary. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Planet 9 or Planet X. For years, there's been debates. In fact, over 25 years, we've been talking about with scientists about, well, does Planet X exist? Well, it's now kind of pointing that maybe it is a real planet. And if we have the technology and if we would spend the money to do deeper diving into the galaxies and solar systems, we might find Planet X. And what does that mean? I don't know, but the Mayas had some idea. Well, here's Guy Ticker with the news. We'll be right back after Guy Ticker with a great guest. So buckle up, because we're going to take you for that real ride right here on Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Now, the latest news from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom. I'm Guy Ticker. In the 1980s and 90s, the Hudson Valley had one of the biggest clusters of UFO reports in history. In the 1990s, sightings centered around the town of Pine Bush. Lance Hallowell, Director of Museum Operations and Special Events at the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum, says there were easily close to 3,000 estimated sightings. Remember, from threats to election integrity to the spiraling climate crisis to complex foreign conflicts, our journalists contextualize, investigate, and illuminate the critical stories of our time. We are able to provide a fresh, outsider perspective, one so often missing in the American media. I'm Guy Ticker. The news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. To submit a story or to get all the latest news, go to nightdreamstalkradio.com. Bobby Mackey was born in Lewis County, Kentucky. His father was a farmer and operated a small grocery store in the little town of Concord. There was a jukebox in the store, and young Bobby would sing along with Hank Williams records and listen to country music on his mother's Zenith radio. She took him to a local talent contest at the age of 4, and when he won first prize for singing Your Cheatin Heart, the path of Bobby Mackey's life was set to country music. His oldest brother bought him a Roy Rogers guitar for Christmas when he was 8 years old, and before long, he was playing and singing along with his favorite stars on the Grand Ole Opry every Saturday night. Bobby still has that guitar in safekeeping. After high school in 1966, Mackey left home with $75 in his pocket, suitcase in one hand, guitar in the other, and a yearning to play and sing in a country band. He took a job on the railroad in Covington, Kentucky, and started checking out jam sessions at clubs in the area, setting in and singing with bands as often as he could. Through contacts he met at the jam sessions, he hooked up with Red Jenkins and the Country Lads and became the lead singer in the band, and before long, he was singing 5 nights a week and soon gave up the railroad for music. In 1978, Bobby Mackey opened Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky. The club was formerly the Latin Quarter Gambling Casino, operating during the Newport, Kentucky gangster-style gambling era of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and was closed down in the early 60s. Bobby Mackey's quickly became a popular place, as greater Cincinnati country music fans fell in love with Bobby's traditional country style. Near the end of the first year, word got around about a movie being made at Mickey Gilley's club, starring John Travolta, Deborah Winger, and Del Toro, the Mechanical Bull. Bobby flew to Houston and visited Gilley's and bought the first mechanical bull they sold, as the movie was wrapping up 8 full months before the release of Urban Cowboy. When the movie hit theaters in the summer of 1980, as America dressed up in cowboy hats and boots, Wilder, Kentucky was no exception. Cowboys and cowgirls lined up outside Bobby Mackey's door, waiting to get in on the cowboy craze, mechanical bull riding, and country music. Along with the nightclub success came national chart success, with record releases such as Hero Daddy and Pepsi Man. Rumors about the nightclub being haunted got the attention of Douglas Hensley, a local writer. He became very interested in writing a book about the haunting tales. Mackey never believed the rumors and wanted to keep the story down, but Hensley's persistence led to the book entitled Hell's Gate. The book and the stories brought national attention, as many paranormal TV shows and paranormal groups from everywhere scrambled to Wilder, Kentucky to investigate, as they still do today. Bobby wrote the song Joanna about the hauntings and has performed the song on many TV shows featuring the stories. Bobby Mackey's CD, Joanna, and a nationally charted bluegrass CD, 10 Shades of Green, have received international success, with sales and downloads to fans worldwide.
Well, Bobby, how are you doing this Thursday night, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Well,
it's great to be on. Great to be on with you tonight.
Well, I'm glad to have you back on and all that. How's everything going with the saloon? Have they tore it down yet? Have they started construction? What's going on?
Well, not quite yet. We got it all ready to go. It's ready to be torn down, but it hasn't happened yet. We're at a temporary place now. We leased the place about 20 minutes away from the old nightclub, and the old club had been there so long and almost 100 years old in most areas of the building, and for about a year before we left the club, I was looking for a place to lease so that we could go to a leased place temporarily and tear the old place down, build a new one, and go back. So we're at the temporary place now. The old place is ready to be torn down, and so plans will be made from here.
Have you had a lot of ghost hunters wanting to go into that the old place, especially now since it's empty?
Yes, people from everywhere want to see it again, want to investigate, and they want a piece of it. We had a big auction and sold a lot of the stuff that was in the club. We sold the doors off of it and some of my old suits and everything in a big auction that went over well.
Well, did you sell any ghost that was in there?
No, I'm gonna keep them.
Well, one of my favorite songs from you was recorded in 1982. It was called The Pepsi Man. Can you tell me how did that come about?
Well, luckily, a guy that I'd never met, a songwriter, wrote the song, and he went to the local studio there and wanted to get a recording of it, a demo of it. So a friend of mine owned the studio, and he called me. He said, I got this song you got to hear. And I went over to the studio and heard the song, and I recorded it right away. And it opened a lot of doors. We sent a copy of it to the Pepsi company, PepsiCo in Purchase, New York. And it came to the attention of a young executive there, and he took a liking to it, and he presented it to the board to use it for a motivational thing across the country. So we released it, and it played across the country. It went top 50 in the national charts.
Oh yeah, and actually in Canada it was number 26 on the charts.
Yeah, right. It did break out in Canada, but you know, my life has been all about music, and the nightclub was secondary. I got the nightclub originally just for a place to sing my country music, thinking I wouldn't be there that long, but we just celebrated 46 years there. If we'd have still been open, if the old place would have still been open, we would have celebrated our 46th anniversary last weekend, but we went ahead and celebrated in the temporary place anyway.
Well, 46 years is a long time, and you know, you accomplished a lot. You know, you had some great music. You know, I was shocked when I was I've been listening to your music all day. In fact, I like your music a lot because, you know, it
Great.
reminds me of Buck Owens. It reminds me of, you know, the godfather of country music, Hank Williams.
You're right on top of it. Hank was my first inspiration, and when I was 4 years old and I first heard Hank Williams sing, it changed my life forever right then. And my life has been all about music. And then when I got in my teens, first time I heard Buck Owens sing, it took me to another dimension.
He had a little twang to his music, didn't he? His voice.
Yeah, well, you know, what it is what it is, and I still love it. And we're gonna build this new club at the old place when we get it tore down. We're gonna build a new place because I got that one more thing I've got to do.
Well, that's nothing wrong with that. What are you going to do about that well that could be haunted? Are you going to build it over it, or if it's going to be next to it?
I'm going to leave it open. When we pour the foundation for the new club, it'll be right on the ground there. Where the well has been, people used to go to the basement in the old place to see it. Well, we're going to build right over it, right on the ground, and I'm going to leave it open, put some lights in it, put a glass cover over it, and rail around it, and people will be able to see it right in the new nightclub. They'll be able to visit it when they're there.
Again, that original, that packing place, right? Where they slaughtered cattle, or I think, or something.
Yeah, well, the site itself, before there was a building built there, the site was the slaughterhouse, and the well was used to drain the blood from the slaughterhouse. There was a tunnel that went under the railroad track and into the Licking River. And that's what the well was about to start with. But I understand there was some other stuff there, and there was some devil worshiping going on and stuff. And Pearl Bryan was a girl that from Indiana that came down to visit her boyfriend and his friend were dental students at the University of Cincinnati, and Pearl Bryan came down to visit them. Well, she became pregnant by her boyfriend, and they attempted an abortion, and she died from it. And they removed her head and left her body out in the field, and thought she wouldn't be identified.
Wow. Now, too, at one point, wasn't it a place where people could go gamble, and it was tied in with the mafia?
Yeah, when the gambling after the slaughterhouse days, and they built a gambling in the before 1920, like 1915, there was a roadside tavern there called the Bluegrass Inn, and it was for gentlemen only. And then they built onto that a little later than that, and made the gambling place, and they kept building onto it, and then it was the Primrose Country Club, and then in 1946 it became the Latin Quarter, and they closed down the gambling in the early 60s, and they had bingo for a while, but then they busted that and sent everybody to prison. So the building was sitting there basically empty until I got the place in 1978 and opened it September the 8th, 1978.
I wonder too if the mafia got rid of any people in there at one point with that well.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that, but there's a whole lot of history there.
No, a lot. I mean, were you ever scared to be in there late at night by yourself?
Well, not really. I didn't like to go in there, and I wouldn't unless I really had to. Not because I was afraid of anything. It was just such an eerie feeling in there.
Yeah, that's what I hate. I worked at a place one time, Bobby, that it was originally in Tacoma. And originally, back in the 1880s, it was a brothel, and it was a hotel. And then in the 60s, they cut half the, took 5 or 6 stories off the building because it was unsafe. But, I'll tell you, I worked at that place, and sometimes I'd be there late at night to like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning doing work. And I swear to God, again, it used to be a hotel, and it was converted into a retail business. I would hear people going up the stairs at night, and I'd hear talking, but there was never anybody there.
Yeah. Well, Carl Lawson was a young boy from up the street when I first got the place, and he was like 18 years old, and he come through the door. I was down there. We were all down there making plans about what we were going to do to get it ready to open and everything. And Carl comes through the door, and I'd never met him. And he walks in and says, "Hi, I'm Carl. I know all about this place. If you need any help, or if you need somebody to work." So we hired him to help us do cleaning and painting and stuff like that to try to get open. And Carl, by living just up the street, he had a history with the place. And while we were trying to get the place open, he started trying to tell me things about strange happenings around there. And I had so much on my mind, and all we had to do, and I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention. And he finally said something that got my attention, and I said, Carl, what are you trying to tell me? You trying to tell me these strange things around here? And he looked at me real straight, and he said, "You wouldn't believe some of the things that go on around here."
Did he ever tell you what some of the strange things were?
Well, I didn't want to hear it, and I told him I didn't want to hear it, and I didn't want to tell nobody else because I didn't want to run everybody off before I got the place open. So I told him not to tell nobody, and he didn't. So 10 years down the road, it started coming out, and Doug Hensley come along and heard something about it. He wanted to write a book about it. So they worried me to death, and finally I gave Carl permission to tell him what he'd been trying to tell me for years. So Doug interviewed Carl and got his story, and the book Hell's Gate, that's what it's about.
Interesting. Now, some of the patrons that you had in there, did any of them come up and tell you that they saw ghosts walking around in there? And when was this reported? Was it during, like, when you were performing, or was it like after hours? When would these things appear?
Well, I don't know. I just heard stories from people. I never experienced it myself, and I never believed it. And I got to say, I still don't. But there are so many stories and so many people who have come there from all over the world doing paranormal investigations and so on, and all of them say that they've experienced activity there, and I still can't make myself believe it. But with all these people that have come from everywhere that have experienced these things, I got to give them the benefit of the doubt, and more people believe in it than don't. I do know that. And if they've experienced it, I've got to give them a little bit of credibility here.
Have you wrote a song about ghosts or anything strange?
Well, yeah, in 1989, that's about the time the book was being written. I wrote the song called Johanna, and it hadn't been a radio record for me, but it's been the biggest record I've ever had. And on YouTube, with the different versions of it, the original recording of it was one thing, and then I've had some just acoustic versions, just me and the guitar, and some versions with me doing it live with my band. You count all those versions together, and there's over 3 million views on YouTube on it. Wow.
How long did it take you to write that song, and where did you, the thoughts to put it down into music? Is it from, people coming into your place and telling you about it, or What got you into it?
Well, the story about it, it cried out to be told, and the song is sort of a synopsis of the book Hell's Gate, and it actually wrote itself in about 20 minutes.
Wow, that is unique, and that is a good song. And can they still find that? Is it available anywhere?
Well, CDs and records don't sell much anymore, but you can find it on YouTube and like Pandora and Spotify and all the places where you find music. I don't believe any copies of it would be available now. Maybe so, unbeknownst to me, but mainly on streaming and stuff, and definitely on YouTube.
You know what I found unique here? I was reading an article in the entertainment industry. There, a lot of companies are starting to produce, the long play albums again. 33 RPM records.
Yeah, well, I miss the traditional country music, and that's all I sing, and I keep it alive around here. But I don't know where music's going. All this music now that they call country is made for young people, and traditional country is taking a back seat, and I keep looking for it to come back and get some legs again, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Well, originally, like Hank Williams and Merle Haggard and George Jones and all that, their music, a lot of it even told stories, which now you listen to it and I don't know, it's a mixture to me. It sounds like rock of the 90s and 2000s kind of mixed with country. That's what it sounds like.
It just don't work for me, and I was really frustrated about it, but back just a few years ago, to release my frustrations, I wrote a song called What They Call Country Is Not Country, They Just Stole the Name. And it's on YouTube, and it gets a lot of views on there. But after I did that, I kind of cleared my mind of it. And if that's what it is, if that music is for young people, I don't like them calling it country, but if that's what it is, let them have it. And but I'm country, I'm traditional country, and it works for me. It worked for the nightclub for 46 years, and it's working in the new place where I am temporarily. And that's what makes me want to build a new place and go back there. But, my take on it, what I've been thinking recently, what might have changed it all was country music, country songs had been written about every subject in the world you can think of. Writers might have just run out of things to write about.
I'm going to say a little bit something different on it. The internet has been a downfall of a lot of things, and radio is not radio like it used to be. Radio is dying. AM radio stations are dying, and that's the ones that used to play a lot of the country music. And, and I blame a lot of that on streaming on the internet, just like my show. I kind of started bringing back the feel of the 80s and 90s. All of a sudden, I got those niche of those type of people listening to the show, and we've been skyrocketing because there's a lot of people out there, they want to hear that. They don't like what is being broadcast nowadays, be it talk radio or music. I mean, again, nowadays, I'll be honest with you, if you listen to country music, it all sounds the same.
Yeah, it's sad because, again, it all sounds the same because they've run out of things to write about. And what bothers me is there's no melody to it. There's no heart and soul to it. A country song, there are country songs that when I sing them, they tear my heart out. And, and that's been, my whole life has been into that. And, it's sad, but the only place people can find what they want to hear is on YouTube. That's just about where it's at. I think it took the place of what used to be country radio.
I think it has. And we're going to take about a 3-minute break. When we come back, I'm going to take you back as a child again about that guitar you got. That, all right. And we'll go from there, and we're going to just find all about you as we can. So we'll be back with Bobby Mackey right after this. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. We might even take 1 or 2 call-ins. So, I'm going to have my producer put the number out, and you can ask Bobby a question. So we'll be right back, so don't go anywhere.
Take a journey of adventure and discovery for the enigmatic giants of the forests. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. The author himself describes it this way. Having found possible Sasquatch evidence, namely trees driven into the ground upside down, thought to be territory markers, led me to investigate this creature in my native Ohio. Several years and many forays into Bigfoot territory, I have found incredible evidence which inspired my book, On the Trail of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is alive and has many fantastic abilities. The evidence is out there for all to see, but you need to know what to look for. My book will inspire those who have answered the call to seek this elusive creature, the Bigfoot. The truth is out there. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. Available now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and IndieBound.org. Coming to you live and covering all time zones like a glove. Here's Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio.
And we are back with Bobby Mackey. Here you were a young kid. You at Zenith Radio. I love the old Zenith radios. So you were like singing to, the music on it. And who decided to get you that guitar?
I had a half brother that I'd never met. He was my dad's first son. And he lived in Michigan, and I lived in Kentucky, and he knew he had three little brothers down in Kentucky he'd never seen. And I'd heard about him, but I'd never seen him. Well, he had graduated from high school and was in the National Guards, and he bought us all a Christmas present and sent it to us, and I got a Roy Rogers guitar, and my mom taught me to play it, and I started playing that guitar and singing along with the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday night, and it was my life was just full of music, and somehow he knew that. But anyway, I've still got that Roy Rogers guitar, and October the 26th, I'm being inducted into the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
And that guitar is going in with me.
Now, I got one of those when I was a young kid, too. I was about 6 or 7, and I got a Roy Rogers one, but was yours wood? Mine was plastic with nylon strings.
No, this was wood. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. A couple of years ago, my wife got me this glass enclosed case for Christmas, and the guitar is hanging in that glass enclosed case right now, and I'm looking at it.
How long did it take you when you got it? I mean, I'm sure you wet your pants when you saw it. I mean, it would have been a big thrill because you really were into country music and singing, and now you have a guitar. I mean, for a kid that age, it was like something from God. I mean, how long did it take you? And did your mom, when you were starting to learn to play it, did they tell you to go in the closet and play it at the start, or what was it like?
No, my mom showed me some chords, and I remember it like it was yesterday. She taught me like the changes for three chords, and I started practicing going back and forth from those chords, and anybody in the area, there were several people around that I knew that played guitar, and every time they were around, I tried to learn something from them, and I had a lot of help from a lot of people, and I've been very blessed, but I was a sponge. I just ate it up and learned to play, and every place I could play and sing, I always did. And I've had a lot of good breaks along the way, and I wouldn't change anything.
Oh, wow. How long did you play that guitar before you graduated to something besides Roy Rogers?
Well, I don't remember. I know that my mom, when I was 15, there was a music store going out of business in Portsmouth, Ohio, which was about 25 miles away from my hometown of Concord, Kentucky. And my mom saw where in the paper where this music store was going out of business, and she went up there and bought me a Martin guitar.
Oh, wow.
I think she paid, I believe, $230 for it. I still got it. It's a D18 Martin guitar. It's worth about $3,000 today.
That has a beautiful sound to it, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. and I was playing a club back of Cincinnati. Before I got my nightclub in 1978, I played just back of Cincinnati at 3 different nightclubs over a period of 8 years. And every time I'd leave one club and go to the other, everybody would follow me. Everybody that went to the club where I left came to the club where I went. And after the 3rd one, I thought, well, you know, I'm successful at every club I go to. I'll just get my own. And I heard about this place over in northern Kentucky, which was about 20 minutes away. That was an old gambling casino that was closed down and was available. So I went and looked at it, and when I did, I had to have it, and the rest is history there. But you know, my music has always been traditional country. I've always had a traditional country band. So many bands in the area that played other clubs, they called themselves country, but they was more rock. They were more rock than country. And I've always been the only one around singing my kind of country music, like the Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and George Jones style of country music.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing I just thought about. Okay, you would go from club to club. Just think about the club owner. Oh, God, I am now on Easy Street. I'm actually making a lot of money. And then all of a sudden you go to another club.
Well, so many people would tell them that, would talk to the club owners and say, get them to play some more rock. And the club owner would mention it and wouldn't do it. I absolutely wouldn't play no rock. Couldn't. I didn't want to, and my heart wasn't in it, and I couldn't do it anyway.
Well,
so,
I'm glad you didn't.
They came to a point where they thought if they'd get a rock and roll band, they could do better than what I was doing.
Well, I caught you in one thing. You did record a song that was kind of a rock song, but you put your own twist to it, and you made it really fantastic. And that was The Night of 1,000 Eyes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was trying to do some old pop songs, kind of pop songs, and try to make them country. That was my angle, and it might not have come off as country as I wanted it to be. But, yeah, I did do that. And I tried to stretch the blanket a little bit, but that's one song I never sang live on stage very much.
Well, yeah, because to me it was, I loved it, and I do love it. I was listening it. In fact, I played it 3 or 4 times today because it's one of my favorite songs, and I like the twist you put on it. Well, what's this bit about a burger or something? You recorded a song about a burger? Mac Burger or something like that?
What was it?
Mac Burger or something like that?
No, I don't. Not that I don't know. It doesn't cross my mind right now.
No,
but yeah, you're right about the Night Has 1,000 Eyes. It was a good production. I grant you that, and it turned out good, but it was a little out of my style at the time.
So, did you ever, before you started playing those 3 clubs or those clubs you were doing, did you ever hit the circuit where you were on the road going from club to club each week to all across the country?
I did some, but not a lot. And I didn't do it until after I got my own club, and I had freedom to do it then. And I played some shows. I did some tours, played out in Denver, Colorado, and Little Rock, Arkansas, and Mobile, Alabama. I remember doing down in Shreveport. Played a bunch of places, but there was no place like home.
Well, yeah, like Willie Nelson, for years and years, always on the road, and and I don't know what type of life that would be, especially if you're married, and and I don't know, I myself, I could not do that. It would take a special breed of person who wanted to travel 360 plus days a year.
I think in my case, I think I was better off being in the same club because people knew what to expect when they came there. And I had a drawing because I did the country music. I could go in one place for a few nights or one night or whatever, and they wasn't, none of the clubs were used to hearing what I did. I was really country, and most places weren't. So I was better off staying in the same place where everybody that liked country music knew where I was. They might not come out every weekend, but when they did come out, they came there.
When do you think country music made the change? Was it like in the late 80s, do you think, where it started drifting off and started losing
Alabama was the biggest destruction of country music in my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
And then it just went on from there, didn't it?
Yeah. Alabama stretched the blanket, and I never sang an Alabama song in my life because it was still country, but it wasn't country. And that was the first ruination of it right there.
Boy, you know, people like, I can honestly say, you know, Hank Williams and a lot of these people, you know, would be turning in their grave if they could hear country music today.
You know, I don't know. You know, I mean, things move on and things change, you know, and styles change. But I never could do that. I'm still the country boy that grew up in Concord, Kentucky, in my dad's grocery store. And I remember my dad had a jukebox in the store, an old 78-speed jukebox, and that's when Hank Williams and Lefty and all them guys had the records on the jukeboxes, and I could get a nickel out of the cash register, out of Dad's cash register. I was allowed to get a nickel out there once in a while and play my favorite song on the jukebox and sing along with it.
Oh boy, I bet people were really happy to hear that. You know.
Yeah, I've still got that jukebox too.
Oh wow, you got that's fantastic.
When my dad went out of store business, he called me and told me to come and get that jukebox. I could have it. I still got it.
Now, how about, have you met any of your idols like Hank Williams and Mel Haggard and George Jones and Buck Owens and Conway Twitty?
I met Conway. I played opened the show for him back in 1970 at a fair there in Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. Yeah, I loved Conway. I opened the show for him once, and I never did meet Buck Owens, but I had George Jones in the nightclub in 1980, and I had Merle Haggard in the nightclub in 1982.
Very interesting. But you never were on Hee Haw.
I never was on Hee Haw. I'm right now a regular on the Penny Gilley show on RFD TV.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Where can they find that? What day of the week is it on?
It's on Fridays, every Friday on RFD TV. I think it's like 8:00 Eastern time on Friday evening. But after the show has aired on RFD TV, they put it on YouTube, so you can find all the versions. You know, I was out there last February in Fort Worth at Little Red's Longhorn Saloon, and in 2 days recorded 24 TV shows.
Wow, they did. What do they do? It back to back?
Yeah, we record them all, and then they put them together and break them up from show to show. And you record 24 songs, and after they run all 24, they rerun them. So that's 48 songs. And I also did a Christmas song for a Christmas show.
That's very interesting. Now, going back to your saloon, how did you ever get that? What got you to get that bull in? The mechanical one.
The bull? Well, there were stories going around about everybody knew about Gilley's out in Pasadena, Texas, and heard they were making a movie out there, Urban Cowboy, and there was a mechanical bull that Gilley's had in the club, and I couldn't imagine that, but I mentioned it. I had lunch one day with the general manager and my sales rep at a local country radio station there in Cincinnati, and during lunch I mentioned that I'd heard that, and so we talked about other things. The station, we were talking about doing some promotions together, so they get me advertising on their air, and we talked about several things, and we left the lunch, and a couple hours later, I got a call from my sales rep, the sales rep that I had just met, and he told me how R.J. Seaford, he told me he called out there and found out about the mechanical bull, that it was available, how long it would take to get it, how much it would cost, and all that. And I thought, man, I can't do that without seeing it. I in my mind, I knew Texas was rodeo oriented.
Right.
And I knew that that might go over in Texas, but I wasn't sure it would go over in Kentucky. And so RJ and I caught a plane and flew to Houston, and Sherwood Cryer, who owned Gilley's, he sent a guy to pick us up at the airport to meet us at the baggage claim. He said, I'll have a guy to pick you up with a Gilley's T-shirt on. So we found the guy with a Gilley's T-shirt, and he drove us to Gilley's, and I spent the night there watching people ride it. And they were finishing the movie that night in the parking lot, that last scene where Deborah Winger and with the fight that was going on, and a whole bunch of stuff happening in the parking lot, that they were finishing up filming there that night. And after they shut down the filming, they come in the nightclub, and I experienced getting to see Deborah Winger get on the bull and ride it, and she did her little exotic ride on there and everything. Anyway, that night I decided I'd just buy a mechanical bull because I really figured it would work. In fact, I knew it would, so I ordered one that night. That was the third one they made. Sherwood Cryer, when the movie was coming about, he bought the patent for that mechanical bull. So he set up shop there. He had a place to build them in. The first one he built was for John Travolta to take to his ranch and get familiar with riding it, learn to ride it for the movie. The second one they made was in the movie. The third one they made, I bought, and I still had it until we just had that big auction, and somebody bought it at the auction here a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow. We got a caller. Caller, who do we have out there?
This is Tom.
Hey, Tom, you got a question for Bobby?
Yes, I do. Bobby, when you've been a recording artist for many years, and my question as one recording artist to another is, the norm now in the music recording industry, especially with record companies, seems to be to take every dime that they possibly can. They have these agreements called 360 agreements, where they basically get a piece of the pie of everything that you do. By and large, I just want to know how you were treated by your record company, and did you have a pretty good experience overall? Because I know that record companies have changed a great deal, and so I just wanted to know what your experience was.
Well, it was always a far-fetched thing. The record companies, take you and run your life too at the same time, and I never would go for that. And I've had my own record label, Shawnita Records, and I've recorded under that label for years, and that's what's worked best for me.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that you did that, because artists like you and John Prine did the same thing.
Well, I'm going to jump in here too. I was just going to jump in for a second. Lot of people, because, I've been in this type of industry for a long time. I've talked to some very famous people in bands, back from the 80s and 90s. And the record companies, the time they got done with them, they thought they were going to be millionaires. But they really didn't make much money at all. The record companies did, because the record companies, every time they went out, they charged them for the bands for everything. So, that was horrible.
They kept the books.
Yeah. Any other questions, Tom?
No, I want to say that I really enjoy listening to Bobby and all of his experiences, and I wish him the best on that new enterprise that he's getting into. And Ben, thank you for taking my call.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much.
Well, again, getting back to that bull, here you had that bull, and you're saloon for so many years. How did it go over?
It went over gangbusters from the beginning. I got the first bull in there in October of '79. The movie didn't come out until like May or June of '80, and I already had radio promotions about it, and people had really taken to the bull. But when the movie come out and people could go to the box office and see it, they'd leave the movie. The town already knew I had a bull, and they'd leave the movie theater and come straight to the club. And we had lines outside stringing up the street, and we'd be run over because of the movie. And we'd have to count people, and if there's 2 people left, we'd let 2 people in. People stand in line waiting to get in.
Oh boy, I bet they were out there for hours, weren't they?
Well, yeah, and it went on that way for a long time. And it was just amazing how that went. And of course, as of today, I wore out I've lost count, 7 or 8 bulls I've wore out.
Wow. Have you ever rode it?
Maybe about 2 seconds.
How about your wife? Did you ever manage to talk your wife to get on it?
Well, she might have been on a time or two, but I didn't care nothing about doing that. We had a Christmas party one year, and all the employees run me down and made me get on it, and I made sure that as soon as they started up, I was off of it.
I would too. I mean, did anybody ever get hurt off of it? I mean, they go flying off the bull?
Yeah, some people have been hurt through the years, but we made them sign a waiver before they get on it, and I've never really had any lawsuit problems with it. But see, as time went on, the original Gillies bull, when you set the speed on it, and a rider got on it, when it started, that's the speed it was, and it could not be changed. But it evolved, and they built some better operating bulls where they had remote controls, and the operator could start it real slow and let somebody get a feel for it and turn it up and a little more, and so a lot less people have gotten hurt through the years than they did in the early days. I
could just see a real macho guy, right? A guy who thinks he's, all that, getting on it and getting sick really quick.
Yeah, while his girlfriend was watching, he was trying to impress her,
Oh, yeah. Well, again, do you have any new music coming out or anything? What's your plans besides opening up the new saloon? What plans do you have with music?
I'm always into recording when I find songs that I like. I'm always finding songs and putting them in a stack where this is one I want to record sometime. And right now I'm right now looking for new songs to record. My latest song is getting a lot of action. A song called "I'm Gonna Wish I'd Never Seen This Hat." It's a guy that bought a cowboy hat and he was acting like a cowboy. So I met her last night here in Dallas. Didn't tell her I was from L.A. I led her to believe it was a cowboy, but I just bought the cowboy hat that day.
And there's people out there, that I've met a few that had cowboy hats, and I go, "Well, are you from Texas? Or are you from wherever?" No, I'm from Nebraska. My parents grew corn. Okay, that's fine.
Well, this girl told him that she liked cowboys, and so to impress her, he signed up for the weekend rodeo. But he said, I can't rope and I can't ride, and I'll bust more than my pride.
That's
but
he's
trying to impress her by riding in the rodeo. Anyway, it's on YouTube. It's my latest record, and I'm real fond of it. It's getting a lot of play. My daughter has been recording with me too, and she and I have a gospel song out that just came out, and it's on YouTube. An old gospel song called "Where He Leads Me, I Will Follow," and Anita, my daughter, and I just recorded that and just released it.
Wow. And how is it how do you like singing with your daughter? Because that's fantastic.
I love it, and she's getting better and better all the time. She amazes me. People tell her she sounds like Tammy Wynette.
Oh wow! So again, do you have any ideas when this new saloon will be? Will it be in next year, or having have they ground broke anything yet?
Well, we're right now. The next stage right now is tearing it down, and when we get it tore down, we'll start from there. But I have no idea. Every project, when we get ready to pour the pad, when we get ready to do that, we get some company that'll do that. Well, they'll say, well, we can't start till the first of the month, so we're going to hear that a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, hey,
they'll push it.
Well, Bobby, I want to thank you so much for taking your, out of your busy schedule to come back on. I had so many people for the last couple of months saying, hey, when are you going to get Bobby Mackey back on? You have a big following out there. You really do.
Well, thank you, Gary. It's great being on with you, and I appreciate you. And I'm all about country music, and I got to get this nightclub going, and I'm still going to be there with my band playing country music.
Great. My friend, you have a great weekend that's coming up, will you?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, my friend, you take care. And thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, JC, what are we going to be talking about tomorrow on the show?
Well, listen, we're going to be talking with Jeff Harmon, and we're going to be talking about paranormal experiences he's had, other paranormal things, some astrology, and he's had encounters with aliens and UFOs. It's a whole smorgasbord of good stuff.
Yeah, and you got a show on Monday. What are you going to be talking about?
Oh, my goodness. My guest is Gary Wimmer, and he is a psychic, but listen, he has some mind-blowing experiences from a near-death experience that is ballooned out in a bunch of different experiences. Just amazing.
And I'm only going to be on 2 days next week. What days am I going to be on, and who's my guest?
You're going to be on Wednesday the 18th, and your guest is going to be Douglas Preston. Now, he is a researcher, boots on the ground, and an author. Wow, he's going to be good. Going to be talking about raising the mammoths, Mayans, and lost tombs, and maybe a little bit of Oak Island.
Yeah, that might be interesting. And then Friday, who do I have?
Friday, we're going to wrap it up with Joe Stillwell. He has had ET and abduction encounters that is pretty mind-blowing also.
But October 11th is a very special day, isn't it? It's not your birthday. It's not mine. But we got a very good show that night, don't we?
We do. I got a very special guest coming on, and I'll let you explain.
No, go ahead. Who is our guest?
Our guest is going to be Lou Elizondo, and listen, there's nobody everybody knows who he is and wants to hear what he's got to say. Well, guess what? He's going to be on Night Dreams Talk Radio. That's right, October 11th. You don't want to miss that show.
And we're going to talk about disclosure. We're going to talk about alien craft. We're going to talk about Roswell. I want, his personal feeling about Roswell, if it really did happen, and what, the alien bodies and everything else, and maybe what happened to the wreckage. That is going to be interesting. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff with Lou, and a little bit maybe different twist than a lot of shows, by the way, did their interviews with him. So it should be a great show that night.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to it. It's going to be listen, as you know, what's his name? It's going to be a really big shoe for sure.
It's going to be more than that. So everybody mark that on your calendar, October 11th. Again, I want to thank everybody out there because we have been growing. We're going to hit about 140,000 subscribers by this weekend at this rate on YouTube. And on the app side, we're solid, about 1 million downloads per show. Now, it would have never happened without you out there worldwide. And I'm talking about worldwide. The thing is, with YouTube, compared to on the apps, people listen to the apps right away. On YouTube, it is worldwide. So like we're talking now, people are sleeping on the other side of the world. They start listening to the show or watching it the following day or the day after. That is what's unique about YouTube. Yeah, it's not like, the other type of apps. Have you noticed that one?
Yeah, it is different. It's listen, that stuff still it gathers and just keeps adding more people watching it like 4 or 5 days after. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, one show, I think the Art Bell special we did with Whitley, it's up to like 199,000 downloads.
Views, yeah, it's and still
views, people watching it. Yeah, it's crazy. It's still growing.
Yeah, it's still growing. I know, it's amazing. Yeah, it's got more views than we have subscribers at this moment.
Yeah, well, that may change here. But, we got Whitley coming back on too, don't we? When's he going to be back on?
Yes, he's going to be coming on in October. Let me see or maybe it's November. Let me check here real quick. Well.
And Whitley was talking and posting today that he's been getting telecommunications from ETs. So that's going to be interesting. That might be a subject we can talk with Whitley about too.
October 25th, Whitley's going to be back on. Listen, he's always a great guest. You don't want to miss that show either. That's going to be a Super Friday show, the 25th. I got to tell you something else.
Oh, go ahead.
Listen to this one. Yeah. September the 27th, Major Ed Dames is coming back on. That's a Friday.
And we're going to be talking more about reviewing. And last night's show was really good. I really enjoyed our guests last night.
Oh, Paulie Smith was fantastic. If you missed that show, you need to go back and watch it, everybody. That was a really, really great show. And
he also was friends at the time and shared a dorm with Major Ed Dames. A lot of people don't realize that. So they actually, knew each other real well.
Yeah, that was amazing. Never heard that before. So that was a little Easter egg I learned.
Can you imagine your remote viewing and then you feel like, wait a minute, somebody is remote viewing me.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're remote viewing them. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting?
That is. While you're doing them, they're looking at you. It's like a Mexican standoff, as they say.
Yeah. I wonder, is remote viewing still going on? Do they have a secret program? Because if it was successful back in the 80s, I just can't see why they would have ended it. And where did it go? Did it go to the CIA? Did it go to DOD? Or did it go to one of these other programs?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it ever went away, but I think it's really on the hush hush, or it's called something like, how to build a cabin or something. But one of those.
Have you ever tried remote viewing?
I have, actually.
What happened?
Pretty successful. Last time I did it was about 6-7 years ago. I just came to me one day and I freaked out my friend, actually, because I said to him, "Are you standing by a desk over a lady looking at a computer?" And I didn't know. I just said what came to my mind. I was trying to remote view and see what he was doing, just experimenting.
You didn't have your pad and paper and draw it?
No, I was just what was coming to my mind.
Oh, that's more like being a psychic.
Well, he was on the phone at the time, and anyway, I was right, because he was freaking out. He thought I was looking at his window, and he was like 30 miles away in another town.
Well, did you have a camera?
No.
Are you one of those producers? You got a secret camera somewhere?
Allegedly, no.
Okay. Well, till tomorrow, everybody, I just want to say thank Bobby Mackey for coming on, for Tom for calling in, and by Jiminy, why don't you other people call in? Come on, that's the whole point of the show. If you're scared to call in, boy, go eat a grape. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great one, and tomorrow's going to be a fantastic show. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends about us. If you haven't bought us a cup of tea, that helps pay for the music we play on the show, which, I was so involved here with Bobby Mackey, I forgot to play music tonight. What could I say? That's because I've been listening to his music all day. Go check it out on YouTube. Bobby Mackey, the Pepsi Man. It was 1982. Take a listen to it. I bet Pepsi loved it. They should have made commercials with it, because I tell you that. Why? Just think of the other thing. What would have happened if it would have been the Coke Man? Can you get it? The Coke Man?
Yeah. No. Can you explain in detail? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, the Pepsi Man flows, right? Because it's Pepsi. But if you say the word Coke Man, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know. What do you think?
I think about drugs. That's what I would think. The Coke Man.
Oh my!
Yeah, could you write a song about the Coke Man? Anyway, we'll catch everybody tomorrow. Again, I want to thank all the truckers out there that keep the show going. We'll catch you on the other side.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday.